Hey everybody, it's Bust with Expedition Trial number 500, the milestone we have finally hit, and it is going to be our last expedition video. If you're not familiar, expeditions will be going away. It's got another 6 weeks or so of life into it. I believe Riot said that it will make it through about the middle of May. But as we've hit this milestone episode, that's where I plan to stop. I'm not going to just make the daily videos. We are going to be transitioning over into Constructed. We've hit Masters over in Constructed. We've started doing the Gauntlet thing. We're having our successes there. And the seasonal tournaments are starting to come up. I figure we'll get qualified for that one way or another. And try to give those a go as well. And so that's where we'll be going in the future. Before we get too started into this one, I did want to give a big thank you to the Riot devs. I know that there are teams of people that were working on Expedition, putting their heart and soul into it, both personally and professionally. And we do want to give a big thank you to those that worked on the format over the years, even the intern, right? We talk a lot of trash about the intern. We give you many thanks as well. And as the format isn't sticking around, we have built a nice community here around it, and there's some other communities that we're a part of across the internet, and everyone appreciates the work that you did. Again, I think this is truly one of the best limited formats of all time across any game. Sad to see it go, but glad that we've got to get the time in while we had it. And so that does bring us to the draft here, and I went back and looked. And the first champion that we ever drafted, the first expedition video we did, was a Fiora video. Fiora paired off with Shen. And so I think it's nice to go full circle. We start with Fiora, we end with Fiora. She's a little bit weaker now than she used to be. Everyone is, of course, familiar with the Fiora nerf to where she only has 2 health instead of 3. But we'll do our best. We'll do what we can. We'll try and take full advantage of this trial, have lots of fun. With our final Fiora draft. And so, the Suit Up archetype, we'll get it pulled up on the site. If you're not familiar with Suit Up, it's fairly similar to Shield Wall. Shield Wall is the one that pairs with Shen. Suit Up pairs with Sejuani, and it's meant to be a go tall archetype. And then the way I try to draft these Fioras is I try to get 10 barriers. The most important one of all is going to be Prismatic Barrier. The kind of common line that you'll see with this deck is you play nothing on turn 1, nothing on turn 2, you bank that 3 spell mana, play Fiora on turn 3, and then you're able to start playing Prismatic Barriers and Ripostes and the like every turn for the rest of the game. And so Prismatic Barrier is the key one in that lineup. Bright Steel Protector is quite strong. And then the card to pull out that doesn't exist here is Riposte. That's Fiora's flip. Very important one to pick up because that's what lets you win combats, right? If she's only attacking, with her base health, base attack, she can only take down a 3 health unit. Ripostes lets you attack up the curve, and so does not live in Suit Up, lives in Shield Wall. We'll definitely be looking for those. But we do have the Shield of Durand. That's one of the new ones. It's not listed here because I took the bots down, but the Shield of Durand kind of fits in with the Prismatic Barrier, still fits in with that curve, and so it is a nice card to be adding here. So, in addition to that, trying to find 10 barriers kind of strategy, the next thing we have is 2 very important questions to ask with Fiora. It is, what do we do if we don't draw Fiora? So we've got our barriers in hand. We're ready to get ourselves into combat. What do we do if we don't, actually draw her? Especially relevant in round 0 when you only have 1 copy. And we try to fit in Laurent Protege. This is the important unit for the early game challenges. He is the ideal one if you don't draw Fiora. The second question we have to ask ourselves is, what do we do if we've gotten heavily invested in Fiora? She gets up to 3 ticks, our opponent plays Vengeance on her, and now we need to finish the game in a different way. And the common way to do that is with Screeching Dragon. It doesn't live in this archetype either, but they're fairly easy to pick up. And so that are the big kind of 3 keys to drafting Fiora to me. You try to find about 10 barriers, try to find some Laurent Proteges, try to find some Screeching Dragons. The rest of the way, we'll play it by ear and see what else shows up. And okay, so what are we going to do with these? I'm not particularly interested in picking up this Trundle. 2 reasons. The archetype is garbage. This is a completely terrible archetype loaded up with terrible cards. I don't want anything to do with it. And it will also put us into Freylord. So when the Shield Wall packs turn up, there's a chance there'll be Freylord. If it's a Freylord pack, we can't find barriers in it. And so the Freylord can be okay. You can get Troll Chance of an Elixir of Irons and stuff, but I don't want to do it with a bad archetype. If we're in a good archetype like a Frozen Solid Ash, then fine. But in a bad archetype like this, I don't really want it. So we have two other options down here. We have the Pantheon and we have the Darius. I'm going to pass on the Darius. You can find some combos and Noxus, right? You can find something like a Whirling Death, which counts as a strike for Fiora. You can find the other strike cards that count. But in large part, the archetype has cards that let you win combats, but not survive them. And so you'll find your Elixir of Wrath to give +3/+0. You'll find things like Might or whatever. They all give plus attack. None of them give plus health. It's just Sharpened Resolve or trying to find Reforges. And so don't really want that. That brings us over here to this Pantheon. And so it's not the strongest, but it's okay. I mean, you might have run into, say, like the Pantheon Shyvana decks running around in Constructed. We do have the ways to, level him up, like Brightsteel Protectors, which can be kind of useful. And then there are some tricks in here, like Pale Cascade. Pale Cascade's not the most ideal one. Targon Shield isn't the most ideal one, but we do have some targetable cards, and like landing on a Faded unit might get us a way to fill in that Laurent Protege space in the early game. And so I think Pantheon will be a reasonable take here, but we are going to look to build towards this Fiora. Okay, so reasonable enough set. I do not like Battlefield Prowess. This card is pure garbage, but the Petricite Broadwing is a very important card for us to pick up. We're going to look for the Broadwings, we're going to look for the Laurent Proteges, and then ideally this will get the Mentor's Fiora showing up, which is the formidable half of the Mentor's deck with Poppy. And so we're trying to draft Fiora here today. We'll just tell it, game. Come on, game. All right, a big pile of turds here. We're going to have to go with the Bastion and the Blessing of Targon out of these. I prefer the cheaper combat tricks, but these other cards are pure garbage. We don't want these AoEs. We don't want Freylord whatsoever. Don't want cards like Wish. Okay. Well, we got the way to boost up the Fiora now, right? We can just play the Duran Sculptors and make her the 3/3 that she was always meant to be. I think that's okay. I really only want one copy of Bastion. And the Telescope Crescent Guardian are good, but they're a little bit off of the Fiora theme. Okay. Interesting set. I worry about what happens if we take this Rockfall path. I feel like these are the best options, but we're going to start seeing like weird Geomancy packs the rest of the draft if we take those. So the choices here between like the Saga Seeker or the Vanguard and the Elites, I'm going to take the Elite cards here. I want the Silverwing Vanguard. We aren't like too deep into terrible cards between the First Blade and the Battlefield Prowess, but I think the Vanguard's going to be the on-theme unit. I could look towards the Saga Seeker, but I don't want to be casting like a bunch of spells on Saga Seeker. Here, we haven't found the barriers we need, so the Shield of Durand is going to have to fit in. We'll take the Cataclysm to go with that. Coming out of these, pretty weak set of cards. Like I worry about where our like top end stands at this point, and I'm looking at just picking up like maybe we can do it with Freed Colossus. Towering Stonehorn is pretty garbage, right? These big expensive units we need to have Overwhelm, and I don't think he's quite capable of pulling off what we need. So let's go with the Yulia and Freed Colossus. It's not ideal, but kind of on theme. Coming out of these, we got a Petricite Broadwing. That's fine. Not the hugest fan of Confront, but we can tend to find some uses for it. The problem with Confront in this deck is like a lot of our units already have Challenger, so it just doesn't do anything. Okay. Coming here with the Sharpsight Stalking Broodmother. This is kind of fixing what we need, right? We need some top end. We'd prefer it to be a Challenger, but is what it is. We'll take the Sharpsight here as our other good combat trick. Coming out of these, I think we want the Saga Seeker and the Freed Colossus. Again, like we don't want the Prowess or the Confront. Stargazer is off theme. These are going to have to do it. Out of this next set, interesting. It's like I'm kind of leaning towards the Penitent Squire, but the Egghead Researcher is like the best card out of all of these. So weird seeing this landmark stuff show up. But the Dustbringer is just a not completely dead card, but pretty close to it. We do have like a minor Elites theme. Maybe we can get something going with the Penitent Squire. Coming out of these, I really don't want the 4 Demacia, but these Duran Sculptors I think are going to be pretty good. We have some interactivity up to this point, right? We have the 2 single combats of 1 Cataclysm, so I don't think this single combat is that important to take. maybe we should just go with the Saga Seeker. It's like, my ideas with the Saga Seeker, we're going to have the cards turn up like the Brightsteel Protector, and then it just never showed up. So I think I kind of want the health booster out of the Sculptor here, and so we can use it to power up our challengers. Here, this is a pretty easy Vanguard package. Get all the challengers there. And the last one. I think I'm good to get, like, I like the idea of this Bannerman. Like, I want to trade away a lot of these these Targon cards, and I think this is actually going to work out to being like a nice challengers-based Demacia deck, and he's going to play a good role in here. And so I think that's a decent pickup. And all right, now, all you regulars know what time it is. It is time to go and turn something premium, and I know, let's see, hang on, is Fiora already premium? We got to go with the champion on this last one, right? Fiora isn't premium. I know we have the Pool Party skin, but we don't have the premium border. Got to go ahead and pay the pay-to-win price, pick that up, and we are now good to go. Okay, so let's get to battle. All right, so yeah. Expectations on this one, not super high. I don't think we really assembled a particularly choice Fiora deck. The cards we're looking for just didn't show up. We got, some of the health boosting stuff out of the new cards, but the barrier package is just non-existent. And so we'll try. We'll give it a go. We've never measured success by number of wins, but the amount of fun that you had, the amount of learning you did, it's way, way more important. Am I right? Okay, here we go. Some Riven Karma. Gonna be doubling up the Riven swords on us. God, look how premium that hand is. That's pretty choice. That's looking pretty good right there. The premium Pool Party Fiora, the premium Pantheon. It's pretty nice. And so, as it stands, I'm not like amped about starting with Pantheons. Like, I think he'll be okay if we could like find a confront, or if we pick up. We didn't draft any of that 3-drop, did we, that passes out Challenger? It doesn't look like we did. But it's like if we can just get a barrier attack with him and a trade, that's about as good as I feel like it's ever going to be. All right. Opponent deploying the 1/1, though. Maybe we'll get a free kill with Fiora. Got to come out here and dodge all kinds of things, though. The Scorched Earths, all of the bounce spells and the like. Kind of scary. All right, here she comes. Can't block that one. All right, so I don't think I'm quite ready to just go in with Pantheon. Let's add the first blade here. We can still Shield of Durand, or we can Pale Cascade this turn. Whatever we need to do. Don't feel like we have to hook in the Shadow Assassin right away. I'm just going to go with the smaller unit here and see what opponent does, how they spend their mana. This seems fine. Seems like we're about to walk into a Nox and Guillotine. That's what this turn strikes me as. Well, I'm glad we didn't go like super all in. He didn't try and bait the Fiora level ups. All right. But that is why it's ultimately important to answer the question: what do we do if Fiora gets killed? We gotta have some kind of follow up. Freed Colossus ready to put in some work though. We got this non-bow with the Petricite Broadwing in hand, but he's got a meaty collection of stats. Got another one? Do we want to go for the other one, or do we want to try and like Blessing of Targon this Petricite Broadwing? I think we just want to go big here. We'll level up this Pantheon here on turn 11. We're not going to overdraw, are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, this will take us up to 10 cards. You done been blocked, my dude. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards. Right. Okay, it says on the deck tracker down here where my nameplate would be 9 of 10. I gotta just take the easy way to counting whenever we can.
To serve the greater good.
So let's drop the Broadwing. I don't think we're gonna get to use the Pale Cascade this turn, but let's at least give ourselves the option, at least to draw the card with it. He picked up the quick attack. Pretty good. Pretty good. It's only got 1 mana, right? Should be pretty safe. You boomed. All right, we can pass from there. I want to put like some gems on this dude, but like we should pretty safely be able to just kind of go all in with him at this point, right? Can we lethal this turn? 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 with the Pale Cascade. We can try. It's not like ultra appealing against Ionia. Like they have lots of. Oh, hang on. Hang on, we didn't math that one very good, did we? As we stop. Oh, we're at 15. Here's 16. Take him to 0, right? But no, I don't suspect this is going to be like always a winner. It's very easy for them to have bounce spells. It's very easy for them to have stuns or another Scorched Earth or whatever. But this should at least be one of these turns to where they have to spend a bunch of mana to not win the game. Yeah, that's fine. Right, so they're not going to add anything to the board here. We still have our Broadwing, and we can start adding more stuff again next turn. I think it's okay. All about getting that karma down. She's going to be doubling up on the spells next turn. Hopefully that's not too scary. And we need to play a spell here. I want this Pantheon to be able to level up on our next turn. So we'll probably put a gem on a Stalking Broodmother. Not on the Stalking Broodmother. Alright, so are we still going to go for the Stalking Broodmother, or do we actually want to play Pantheon this turn? It seems pretty strong to add like Freed Colossus Pantheon and then level him up. I don't think we care about the Karma flip. Like, my problem with Karma has always been like, oh, they're just going to play a Homecoming, and the doubled up Homecoming doesn't do anything. So I think we can choose to just not worry about her.
Time for a leap of faith.
Okay. Here he is, Pantheon animations doing stuff. So what did he hit? Quick attack, lifesteal, overwhelm, fearsome, regenerate, and then has the barrier and the faded. Pretty strong. Here they come, my dude. Not that bad. Is he going to send Pantheon back to hand? We get to... Oh, he has Elusive. I missed the Elusive one. That's kind of an important one to hit in there. But we get a chance to replay him in 2 turns after we played 2 more spells. That seems pretty positive. See, exactly my problem with Karma, right? You get to you're getting the doubled up spells, but it's not actually doing anything. All right. Bannerman ready for battle. Okay, okay. So I could see ourselves playing a Sculptor, playing a Broodmother, playing a Gem this turn. And then next turn we'll play a Bannerman, we'll play a Pantheon, and another Gem. So get all the cool stuff going on. Get a big scout attack with the Stalking Broodmother and our gonna have Scout Pantheon. Woodland Keeper, bring in the elusives. Okay. Why's Karma so big? Oh, the Aristocrat gave her a bonus. Sure. And does he have the stuff for the Riven Sword this turn? That would be a problem. Looks like he does. So we'll get double Riven Swords. Goes up to 15 attack. I don't think she's going to be lethal. Definitely going to have to throw a Stalking Broodmother in front of it to prevent a lethal here, but... Okay. You doing stuff. You doubling up them swords. So this will take her up to 17. Alright, we'll keep passing. If for whatever reason he wants to no attack this turn, then by all means. Alright, let's see what the squad can do here. We gotta... There we go. I feel a lot better now that we picked up single combat. Drop this 7-target Pantheon. We'll drop the Vanguard Bannerman. We'll see about taking down Karma with a single combat and a Duran Sculptor. And then we'll get ourselves in there. It doesn't look like Pantheon actually hit the abilities we'd really want. It's got Tough, Challenger, Augment, Quick Attack, Impact, Fearsome, Elusive, and something we can't see. And so, allies can't drop below 1 health. Got something to say about that before it happens. Okay. So Karma is retreated. Not a big deal. Can't replay her this turn. It's got 3 mana. Do we want a Saga Seeker? Probably not. I mean, we didn't end up losing a unit there. I was like trying to envision how that just went wrong, and he was able to stop, or able to take down Pantheon, but didn't have a damage source.
Where's my hammer? Needs a finishing touch.
All right, well, good as it's getting this turn. Oh, it's Exacties. Planned it that way. Planned it. It was supposed to be like that from the start. All right, all right. No 0 winners with Fiora today. The final expedition will not be done in 2 games. Maybe 3. Maybe 3, but not 2. Okay, so what do we have with this Fiora? Continuing out of the suit-ups, a Broadwing at the barrier. Perfect. Still looking for some Screeching Dragons, but otherwise it's coming together. What's this Pantheon Lee Sin? Ooh, this hand sucks. And Yumi? Okay. Let's find some cards that don't suck. Trade out the that's the key to Runeterra in every game ever. Take the cards that suck out of your deck. Put the cards that do not suck in your deck. You should be good to go. Alright, but we don't have a Fiora in hand. There's no reason to do a bunch of banking. We do have a couple of 2-mana combat tricks, so I could see an argument anyways that if we had the Fiora to just go ahead and play her, since we can Sharp Side or Pale Cascade the turn she would come down. But not relevant here. Get a play? Durandi Sculptor. We're going to give this a banner. I think I want to save the banner for the First Blade. I don't think we ever attack with the Sculptor here, though, so we'll go ahead and bring in the Penitent Squire, play it after the fact. Ooh, that would have, excuse me, that would have been a tempting target to take down with the banner, but those attacks never would have worked out. And there's Fiora. Give her Challenger with the Tattered Banner. No, thank you. So we can take the hit from this Pantheon. It's not that big of a deal. He's coming in for 6, right? Because it's going to have the bonus from the Mentor of the Stones. But I don't think it's worth throwing any units in front of him at this point. Need a barrier. And this is the kind of spaces to where I was ultimately worried about us not having riposte, as to where Fiora is trying to get these attacks in. And, you know, she can't challenge down a Pantheon at this point. We can Tattered Banner into Vanguard First Blade and take Pantheon down that way, but we can use this Battlefield Prowess as well, but not the ideal ways to be going about this. I'm not super interested in hooking Pantheon with Fiora ever. I'm going to drop the banner, drop the First Blade, hook him with the First Blade here, try and take him down that way. And then let Fiora interact with the other stuff. Alright, he's getting ready to bring that thunder. I can already tell. He says, I got this, he said. I've been watching them bust videos. I learned about the pay-to-win lifestyle. I got my premium Mentor of the Stones. I just got to get it on the board. It's like I'm facing down a lot. He's got a lot of premium on the other side of the table, but I think I could do it. That's kind of nasty. So we can't get up to 7 with the cards that we have in hand. Do we still just hook Pantheon anyways? Like the worrisome thing now with Pantheon is he's getting pretty close to being over to overwhelm kill us. Okay. At least we get to put 4 damage on him this way and can maybe take him down on next turn. Like we might have to like block with, you know, some of these big boys and throw a combat trick down. At least kind of this way. That's fucking annoying. let me be real with that. That's annoying. But we can still maybe throw a Freed Colossus in front of Pantheon. As long as we're not dying to him, I think it's okay. But I think we need to get out of our heads our ability to OTK this game, right? Fiora only has 1 level up at this point, and I don't suspect, you know, we're going to beat Pantheon, or, you know, Pantheon's going to kill us before Fiora is able to get an OTK. But here, I like the Lancer. It has 1 less health than this Freed Colossus, but it can take down the Pantheon if he doesn't have any other cards. So if he makes this attack, Pantheon goes up to a 9/5. Does that take him to 8 now? Yeah, he goes up to 8 once he gets the stones. Okay. Well, we can't take 14. I did the mathematics on that one. That's way too much. I think we want to save the Fiora to hook on Pantheon next turn. So let's just put our little unit in front of the Mentor. So if we can take Pantheon down in combat, that might save us a bit here. The other thing is, can we just win? Right, just winning the game is always it's always another option. To where if we say play Double Bird and hook both of his units, Can we still deal enough? We have 12 this way, right? If we go Colossus, Fiora with these 2 units. And so let's lead. Oh, no, we don't have the. We don't. We have 9 mana in total. It's just not the way those mathematics work out. Can we do something before Demacia? Like if we're going to hook Pantheon with Fiora, play the 4 Demacia, hit with these 2 units here, that would be 10. Could technically kill with a sharp sight. That feels a little off. I feel like, well, I think we're just kind of like all in with having to deal with this Pantheon at this point. I'm going to play the 4 Demacia and then see what happens. I don't think we're going to get to kill this turn. It's too easy for him just to add units to the board. But we should realistically be able to take Pantheon down. It's not gonna like flip or something, is he? Okay, that's gonna be a real problem if the Pantheon just comes down and flips. Okay. Let's play something irrelevant. It's our favorite play. They spend 6 mana on something irrelevant. Okay.
Sunlight guide you, my brethren. Needs a finishing touch. Oh God! Back, heretic. Believe or burn.
Okay. All right. Well, the immediate concern is gone. The big Pantheon has been dealt with. He gets his Yuumi back, which is of course always annoying, but we're progressing. I feel pretty decent about that. Can even block of an elusive if he's going to drop the old rainbow fish on us. He's not gonna flip, is he? He's pretty far in terms of mana and flipping Lee Sin. I think it's okay. I was looking to I'd like to add reinforcements at some point. Maybe this is a play for next turn, but it's like assume that he's just gonna get like a barrier challenge with the Lee Sin. Trying to think if we can't get all of this down, right? If we want to play the Vanguard, that will then make the tracker cost 4. I think that's the way to go about this. We won't play the Colossus or the Broodmother. That lets us play the tracker. Still potentially sharp sight this turn. We can get some scout attacks next turn. I think this is all well and good. Yuumi's good. Yuumi doesn't let him go wide, right? Yuumi just lets him go tall on the Lee Sin. More than okay with him killing Duran's Sculptor. Yeah. All right, so now we can reinforce, hook 2 of his units, and I think we're good to go. Don't think we're in a safe enough space to make a scout attack. It is tempting just to open when we draw Blessing of Targon. Let's pick up the stats. It should be like pretty tough for him to add, 2 interactive elements to the board. There's not a ton of put 2 dude down kind of cards. Okay. Right, so he has the 1 block with Lee Sin. He has to have a card to deal with the 4/4. Then we have stuff to play to still get the lethals in here. I think we're fine. Egg 3. We did it. Okay, getting to rolling, and this is like the thing that's always been the classic problem with Fiora in Expedition is, she's weak at the beginning because you've done all this bit around efforts around a card you have 1 copy of, and then as the draft goes on, you're able to pick up more copies of her, and so I always kind of felt like Fiora ought to have a super low win rate until you got 3 copies, and then should have a super high win rate after that point, but. It's kind of tough to balance and everything. Same with Lee Sin, right? You do a lot of building around Lee Sin. If you draw him and things are going, that's kind of a high roll. And then once you have 3 copies, he's kind of good to go from that point. But let's see here. So what do we got? These aren't Fioras. I feel pretty comfortable mulliganing all this. We got to find those early game challengers, right? We want the Fioras. We want the what do you called? What do you call new guy? Petricite Broadwing. Reasonable enough start.
Let's get it, crew. In ring.
Sure.
All right, let's get to work.
Oh,
I'll try anyone once.
do you want to hang out, bud? Come on. You can be on the internet. Let me see. Hang on. We got a kitty kind to make an appearance here. Do we want to play the protege? We don't have any good targets for it, but it does let us start to get the sculptor into combat. We have to play something this turn, right? We could just be the penitent squire and a bank 3. And then we get the double bird next turn. That's a little bit better, I think. That kind of lines us up to making a challenger Vanguard First Blade along with some stats. Come on, bud. It's the last video. You can be on. Yeah. There we go. Here's one of the old kitties. Here, we can do one of these. Say, what's up, internet? What's up, internet? I'm on the internet. He's a delightful little fella. Okay, doing the full on self damage thing. This is all fine. We're losing a bit of health. We don't have any way to gain it back, but his attacks here aren't very good. We can sharp sight out of something. I think we're gonna be okay. We should start to turn the corner, kind of like after this attack of his.
My turn. Make way.
Right, so we do something like this. We're gonna fall to 9, 8 or so. Pretty close, but we should be good. He's not playing Darius, so we don't have to completely worry about our health. So now it should be fairly tough for him to recover. Right, we got a good challenge out of the Silverwing Vanguard. Things haven't changed. Well, do we want to just play the Lancer? It's more efficient. I don't think so. Got to get this this first blade going at some point. All right, bud. Get you them good scratches. That's what's going to lead us to victory. All right, so we got to deal with another Grenadier. We can deal with that in the combat. I want to get definitely want to get this this 1/2 off of the board. Well, we can give him the option here. I mean, at this point, do we even want the Duran Sculptor anymore? Kind of okay with losing it. Yeah, Swain is at 11 of 12. I think this is fine.
Finishing touch.
It's not playing Gangplank. We don't have to worry about the turn the damages happen on. But Swain will be flipped if he ever gets to drop him. Okay, the Swiftwing Lancer has a successful block here, so we can at least block the monkey and the dude. Take the 2 damage this turn and go to 5. Getting pretty close. We're getting pretty close to that that area called death. So we'll see.
Not another step.
Want to drop the Saga Seeker? Where are we at? Like, I want to get the Broodmother happening next turn. Let's leave the Saga Seeker back. I could see a world where we do drop 2 units instead of just 1. But takes us to 3. Okay, we're gonna have to challenge down the Monkey Idol. Yeah, this is close. A little too close for comfort. So it's like if we play the Broodmother, he's just gonna block, but then we get another attack in with it. I think that's fine. It's going to represent more damage than adding two 6s, because we can kind of guarantee that this gets in after the fact. Ooh. Come on, bud. Yep. Man, so that's one of those games. Like, I don't think, like, we took a damage from, like, his turn 1 unit, and then I know we let one demolitionist through, but man, that's pretty wild, the amount of like non-damage we took that game and still got completely burned out like that. But here, let's get rid of the Colossus, pick up the Aegis. It's our preferred rally. Everyone playing Constructed knows how powerful the rallies are. They're still pretty good here. But yeah, that's a harsh reminder on why Riot nerfed the Legion Grenadier. They nerfed the Imperial Demolitionist. Like, the Grenadier used to hit for 2. I think the Demolitionist used to hit for 3. And then the Crimson Disciple used to hit for 2. And so you could play these really aggressive decks that just dealt all their damage outside of combat. People were really upset about playing against them. There's always something to be upset about if you scroll through Reddit these days and see all the talk of Vandal City. That was one of the complaints of old, was the burn decks and everybody being like, "Oh, I want to play a control deck and I can't do it." That's that's what people typically sound like when they talk about wanting to play control decks. But it's not their problem anymore. All right. Not a terrible start here. I'm not going to get involved with this Egghead Researcher. I'd prefer to get a tough combat with it so we can at least save on the health a little bit. So let's see how he reacts. Of course, we can just take down a bigger unit with the Broadwing now, but it's kind of lame. People out here being lame and not trying to have fun. Not very cool, man. Not very cool. Interesting, and he keeps the researcher for better days.
You must have some unique insight into dragons.
Most are cruel, vicious, and deadly.
So how do we feel about this? It's like I kind of like putting some damage on Shyvana this turn. If we're going to do it, we might as well do the 3 with the Protege.
Must have gotten turned around.
Let's give it a turn. It is kind of nice to have some mana banked up as we're going to start attacking with this freed Colossus. Non-zero chance that it can just single combat down Shyvana. Here's the non-zero chance that's just that's just made its way here. Let's take it. But this is not a particularly strong turn for us. We aren't, the Shyvana deck is getting into its prime now, as to where it's able to just keep slamming a bunch of stats on board, and we've done not enough to get board control. Right? If we'd been able to take down that initial dragon, it would have been kind of okay. What happens here if we... Oh, it just strikes the 2 weakest ones. Okay. Sad noise it is. I was trying to think if we could single combat out of that, but it's not. That's not the way the game works. Okay, so it's like we're going to have to block with the Colossus. We're going to have to Prismatic Barrier out of this so we can get the damage onto the dude and then not lose our too many of our stats. And then we can try and do something with the Screeching Broodmother next turn. So we'll have like the 2 mana banked up. So like we can play the Broodmother, try to get an attack in. If he wants to play a card or something, maybe we single combat in response. But he's been playing a lot of like all max mana sorcery speed stuff, and so maybe this will be okay. That's some of that max mana sorcery speed stuff coming at us. Now our dragon's good to hit. And we get to swing again for 14. Alright. Well, that turned around. Okay. It feels like after having to play against the Molten Breath and then playing against the Boomerang Blade, he's just gonna put down a unit and hit us with Judgment. You know, if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. But that's what I'm kind of worried about at this point. But let's take both of our units up to 3 health. We'll add in the Swiftwing Lancer because we don't have any more plays anyways, and see what this guy's idea is. Mobilize isn't going to do it. Got you another dude on board, I guess. Okay. Yulia's pretty big here, giving the Overwhelm. I was trying to think if we want to just like open or not, but now that we picked up the Overwhelm, we most certainly do not. Eclipse Dragon, use a big boy. Alright, so we can... Okay, he's tapped out, so we win. Perfect. I mean, I guess we could always just do like a confront onto the Stalking Broodmother and hook the Silverwing Vanguard. That would make that scout attack. That would have done a ton of damage as well. But oof, that one was worrisome. I thought that one was going to be the end. I thought our final expedition was going to be at 2 wins. But let's pick up our 3rd Fiora. Too many recalls, or do we not have? I thought we had a Relentless Pursuit, so not too bad with the 2 Golden Aegisuses. All right. All right, man, I did something very important this week. I'm sure most of you have already done it. I was a little late to the party this time, but I got to watch Fast and the Furious 9. Fantastic movie. I take that back. Fantastic film. Whenever you're in film critic mode, you have to use the word film and not movie. You know, motion pictures and stuff. If you want to be taken seriously, you call it a film. You didn't go watch the Fast and the Furious movie. You watched the Fast and the Furious film. And it was fantastic. Everything you could hope for. It's got the the right amount of plot, which is almost none. It's got great one-liners, and Han comes back. Spoiler alert: Han's back from the dead. So we brought 2 characters back from the dead. Very good at surviving car-based explosions. And that was like one of my only like peeves with it this time was one of the reasons that. I felt like they've always excelled, where they always did the real special effects, and so it was like always the cars that wasn't a bunch of CGI cars and stuff. And they put a bunch of CGI cars in this one, which was a little unfortunate, but otherwise I was pretty happy with it. Got a lot of Vin Diesel taking himself very seriously. Got lots of. Got lots of the good one-liners from Tyrese. Thought it was a quality film. But we took the kind of odd line here in getting this Fiora down. I wanted to have the 2 mana this turn for the Pale Cascade. We missed out on playing the Duran Sculptor, but it's like the awkward thing with this curve as to where if we play the Sculptor on 2, and then we are trying to get Fiora going on 3, then we're not going to be able to play a combat trick that turn. So here, this will be okay. If he spends all of his mana like taking down Fiora, that's fine. We just drew another one. But this is what we're trying to do with this Fiora deck. We're trying to, of course, go for the OTK, but we're also trying to assemble these boards to where opponent has to just spend all their mana on tricks and stuff and can't add anything to the board. And then we're slowly building up with our other bros. Okay, take all the scout damage. If he just passes here, I'm pretty tempted just to send it back. We don't have a ton of mana to get this Fiora involved in combat. We're getting ready to boost with the Vanguard Bannerman. It's not super important to hit this turn. Like if we go into next turn with a ton of mana and then get our our Bannerman and our big Fiora going, along with the Golden Aegisuses, I think that's going to give us some pretty good combat. Let's just pass. Doesn't feel like a super worthwhile Fiora into like Spring Guardian plus Sharp Sight. Okay. The cards are getting together now. We got the 3 barriers, lots of OTK potential. Especially if we, get a hook this turn, then go into next turn. I've got scouts on my brain. I was just envisioning that we get 2 attacks this turn because that's the way it always works with scouts. But there is a non-zero chance we could win the game next turn if opponent attacks into us. All right, we didn't miss this time. We aren't at like a super high percentage of units that miss or break the allegiance. I think it's above like the 6 I normally like, but it's not absurd. All right, let's just bring in a little bit. We don't have a ton of good attacks here, but Fiora is certainly doing her thing. Interesting for Demacia. Yeah, play it, because we can still hook kill the Grizzled Ranger. We don't attack with any of these others. It doesn't feel right. I mean, we have the Confront to take down something. Maybe we should, just in case this doesn't go entirely our way. We can still play 1 combat trick if that's the case. And it makes the 4 Demacia next turn not, like, ridiculous. Got them foam noodles ready. We're in noodle mode now. I guess she's got the noodle sword in both pictures, but we're ready for it. Thinking hard on what to do. It's kind of a spot, yeah. If we got like 1 trick, it's a very realistic chance we just end the game on him. But we could have barriered here. I think I'd prefer to do it on his turn, though. Right, if you want to do the barrier rally. Is he ever, like... I think this is good. If we just, like, Bladekeeper Fiora, then he looks like he wants to attack, so we attack, so we get the barrier in combat, and then we follow up with the Golden Aegis. There's definitely a world where this doesn't completely work out, but even if our, like, Fiora fails here, like he has a Hush or something, then it's like we still are just super ahead on board. All right, get your OTKs ready. Sure. Does she have the same animation when she's in pool party mode? When you get the OTK? That's the old animation. Get it together, Riot. All right, good. Glad we got a classic OTK before the trial was done. GG. So what are we doing here? Where were we at in terms? Right, we're at 7 Targon. That's not that bad. We'd prefer it to be at like 6, but that's not terrible. The Golden Aegis is kind of tough. I don't think we want it. especially for like a Shield of Durand. Like if it was like, hey, do you want to trade this Freed Colossus for a Golden Aegis? I think I'd be okay with it, but not for a shield. That's just like we don't have the prismatic barriers, and it's playing that role, right? And so I don't want to lose it. Not super interested in Battlesmith. We do have a handful of elites, but not enough to make it interesting. I think I am going to actually come out here and pick up this Rummel, though. Right? We've been talking about we need some way to close out the games if Fiora dies. Like imagine that previous game if Fiora died, and we are able to just make a bunch of barrier rally attacks with Grandfather Rummel. Right? That's a pretty decent game ending kind of plan. And so I feel decent adding him to our deck at this point. Alrighty. Yeah, man, the Fast and the Furious series. I don't know if there's a better one in the world. You know, say you like your Star Wars, sure. Your Lord of the Rings, okay. I don't know. Some of you probably even say Twilight's the best one, but it's like what I'm hoping happens in the future is just the Hobbs and Shaw one is what pushes us ahead. It's I love Dwayne the Rock Johnson, but man, speaking of those wrestlers with John Cena, we just love John Cena in the Peacemaker. He was fabulous in the Fast 9 as well. Can't get enough of that dude. It's like he overperforms every time. I don't know if I'm gonna like start to feel differently about him in the future as like my expectations for him get higher and higher. But as it stands, the expectations are always low, and he just comes in and fucking crushes. The dude is putting in the work. But with this board, this is one of these awkward hands, right? Where if this Petricite Broadwing is a Fiora, we would just snap keep both the shield and the barrier. But when we don't have Fiora, then what do? And I think this is probably an okay keep against Shyvana Garen. It does let us get like a turn 3 attack with the Broadwing and boost with the shield and then grow it and be ready for more attacks the next turn. Oh, you just draw Fiora. Okay. That's another way to do it. Let's see if he plays, though. If like he just passes units, it gets really awkward for us. But, alright, he added a bro. It's already got the dragon in hand. Here comes Fiora. Yeah, I've been not happy with these Saga Seekers. Like, maybe if we assembled the deck to where we had a bunch of Brightsteel Protectors and whatever this dude is, the Durand Protege, to where we just have these Demacia-based targeting cards, it would have kind of worked out, but it's not been pleased with this guy. Okay. Fiora gets shut down for a bit. I saw this Freylord at the beginning of the match, and that's what I was kind of like considering happening with this Broadwing, is us like assembling some of these turns to where Frostbite doesn't do that much against the Broadwing. But it doesn't look like it's going to be the case of a ton of strength here. Probably just want to go with the shield. Even if even some of this combat goes wrong, then we still get to grow next turn. I think that's fine. There's not any like attack boosting tricks he can play here to take down our Fiora, right? He can play the things he can play are pretty limited. Fury of the North isn't there, Riposte isn't there. He just doesn't have the mana for them. All right, my squad is ready. That's a little unfortunate. We don't have the riposte for this guy. Okay, we'll give it some time. Now you can see why the why the ripostes are so important to have. Can't attack up. Molten Breath. We're doing this shit again? Is that gonna hit both of our little birds? Yeah. Pantheon is nowhere near flipping. give him this juicy option here of passing into our 6 mana. I completely fine with it. We don't have the tools to do anything with Fiora. We don't have the tools to take down this dragon. We don't have the tools to get like super wide and hook the dragon away out of combat. Like we need some things to go our way here. Now this is like a little bit better. Like we have this barriered hit onto the dragon. Now on our next turn we can play Pantheon and then Cataclysm Pantheon into the Screeching. Well, that was an idea. I didn't take into consideration the Scar Grounds, but something. Maybe we look to. Well, it's a break-even hook with the dragon if we hook it with the Vanguard. And say maybe we look to hook it to the side for a damage and then take it down with Pantheon, but don't quite have the mana for those shenanigans. Shit's annoying, bro. Okay. So it's up to 6. Not a lot we can do about that. He's thinking about this an awful long time. What is this going to be? Single combat. I mean, so we can't even single combat that down with the Swiftwing Lancer, right? It would take it to... it would deal 4 damage to it, so it would take it to a 2, then it would go back up to 3, and then the Fiora is going to die. Our other option is we could look to single combat like the Researcher to get Fiora to flip, but that doesn't seem super worthwhile. You have to be ready to go to work, Pantheon. you're gonna have to be doing it this game.
I'm glad for your help. There's much to learn in defeat.
You seem like you've got a lot to learn.
Ready to go to work. This is not good. This is the end game that we're looking for, and we don't have any of these dragons. One of these is generated, I think. Nope, he's just got him naturally. So he's still got another dragon in hand. Not the elite we were looking for. Needed a Cythria 10 or something. But yeah, that was exactly what I was talking about in the deck building portion. When the problem with the suit up archetype is not having access to riposte, right? You can't trade up in the curve. You can pick on their little units all day, but you can't deal with the big ones. Okay, do we want another Rummel? I mean, it's not absurd. Like the confront just isn't very good in this deck, right? The units that we care about getting on board and attacking with that already have Challenger. And the Rummel does give us some of that late game that we're looking for. Again, I would rather these be Screeching Dragons, but we haven't seen a Screeching Dragon this run. Okay, on to the next one. 500 of these things. It's wild, isn't it? It's wild, 500. I know there's people who made more videos than that, but it's tough to do 500 of anything, and so I think it's pretty cool. Reminds me of the Mitch Hedberg joke where he's talking about whenever I want to eat 2,000 of something, he's going out and having some rice. Kind of similar. We're a little far away from 2,000, but oh man, is this going to be a Sun Disc in this run as well? Oh, the dude's going to be bringing the disc. I can tell. All right, well, we full mulligan for Fiora. Didn't find any Broadwings. Didn't find our Laurent protege. Do we have a protege? I don't think we do. But I still feel like you kind of have to do that. We could have held on to like the 2-drop, but it doesn't seem super ideal. Like we had a, what do you call it? Sculptor. But you still get 3 draws at a reasonable unit, and so we might find something before the turn 3 disaster rears its head. It looks like it's shortly incoming. Oh man, this is, at least we get to bring this one up as well. Like right after not playing 3 factions, like the next big thing I always recommend is keeping those hands when you mulligan, so that if you run into this space, you have a play. Not having to play here is pretty disastrous. Ugh. Okay. Come on, deck. Give us something juicy. Alright, that's as juicy as it gets.
Strength and grace, beauty in the blade.
Beauty and the blade. Shouldn't be like too much that Shurima can do in the face of Fiora, right? They could play a siphoning strike here, which would be awkward but not a lethal. Otherwise, they don't have lots of ways to come in and win this combat. He does have Renekton, so we might have to worry. About a playing so many cards. Why would you exhaust and then siphoning strike? So how do we go about this? I'm leaning towards like using the shield so that we get the bonus stats next turn. But it's also kind of tempting to sharp sight, so we just like don't have to waste the mana here. Right, so we can bank up a little bit more next turn. Let's go with the shield. So that'll strike her down to 3, then she'll get the bonus health next turn and go up to 4. Okay. Then it still does leave us the mana to say Blade Keeper her plus Sharp Sight if we need to.
How good to serve the Emperor once more. Let it help you remember who you once were.
Okay. If he has another exhaust, then Fiora will still survive a Renekton hook. I think we're okay here.
See what I see, carry it with you. Emperor, I am honored.
Think we're okay with this one. Got all the Fioras now. It's kind of an odd place, and it's like I'd like to tear up his board with these Silverwing Vanguards, but I also want to have the stuff on board for Fiora to kill. I think this is okay. Let's just try and clear this stuff out a little bit. Right, it's kind of one of these spaces to where if we just leave the Azir on board, he can never realistically attack, since we're able to put Fiora in front of the little units. Right, so it's like next turn he wants to attack, Azir automatically makes the Sand Soldier, and Fiora can just come in and block. Alright. I think we turned the corner in this one. Durandi Sculptor ready for battle. Coming in and doing some blocking duty.
I'm ready. No more waiting.
I sculpt what others only dream of. I'd raise 1,000 soldiers to fight for Shurima.
Empires are built on ambition and certitude.
Alright, well we gotta take the biggest ones down. We can't sit around and just take tons and tons of damage here. I think this is fine. I don't care about the stats. Let's put Fiora in front of... even care about this thing? Like, we're going to play a riposte this turn. Maybe we do it like this. We're going to take 5. Okay. It's going to take her up to level 2. We'll play a Golden Aegis this turn. Try and hook down the Sandcrafter. And then we'll try and get the OTK next turn onto Azir. I think we're good. Say, give me them OTKs. We don't even get the animation. Aye, good job, Fiora. Good job. Whew, glad we turned that one. That was always a disaster of a play when you go your first 3 turns without doing anything. But man, that does completely describe why I love games like Runeterra so much more than Magic. It's like run into these spaces with Magic as to where it just felt like so common and so frequent that you would run into these spots to where either you just weren't in the game because you mulliganed to 5, or like you mulliganed to 6 and had to keep a 1-lander and never drew another one, or you stalled on 2 until like turn 4 or something, and it's like you're just never in the game, and it's not just you, it's against your opponent as well. But the only times that it ever feels like that happens in Runeterra are situations like this one, and it's like you still don't feel like completely out of it, right? There's some decks to where sure you're going to be out of it if you're playing, mono Elise burn and you don't draw a 1, 2, or 3 before turn 3. Something seriously wrong has happened, but there's some decks that can still play out of it. But it's not to say that Magic is a bad game. I still love Magic. I still think it's a great game, but I just feel like people do it better now, right? And that's just the way of the world. The Magic was a game designed almost 30 years ago at this point. And so to think that, Hearthstone coming in 10 years ago and then Runeterra coming along now and building upon both of those previous games, it's, not surprising that they do a lot of things better. And I feel like games like that are just perfect examples as to, one of the things that Runeterra is doing better, and that is the resource system and the spell mana system. I really is like if this is the only one of my videos you've seen because you came in on number 500, like we did take a bit of a hiatus to switch to Magic Arena for a while. I was just ultimately, kind of frustrated with the state of Expedition and the amount of dev updates you were getting and the updates in the game, and it makes sense now that it was just being shuttered, and they weren't ready to just come out and say no, this format's done. But it was like I stopped and went and played Magic for a couple of months, and it was just like ultimately just like super frustrating. And that if you're in the grind and playing Magic all the time, you don't really notice the difference. You just kind of accept that that's part of the game, and that's what you just have to do in terms of becoming a high tier player. But man, it does suck when you've kind of like ventured out into the world and seen the other things that are there to offer. And then when you go back to it, you're just like, oh, maybe that wasn't as awesome as it was in the past. But interesting here, he's actually playing 2 Karmas and either 1 or 2 Shivanas. You don't usually see this. It's usually 3 Shivanas plus something else. But see if we can't do that board control thing. Make sure I got a little sloppy hooking those. I wanted to make sure we had the 3/4 in front of our 4 attack unit. Okay. So we're a little weak this turn, but we get a good 3 bank, and then the bank 3 mana next turn into the Lancer should, help us control the board pretty reasonably. We could, I was gonna say, if he attacks here, we can Shield of Durand into this bro. Let's see, that's kind of where I'm leaning now. He has a bunch of mana this time, but if we say Shield of Durand, the Broadwing makes it a 5 with the good hook here. Good hook here, come in for 1. Then if he has a combat trick to stop this Broadwing attack, it's not that bad, but we just get the big crush. That is the game as to where you need the piece of your deck that says, what do I do if I don't draw Fiora? That is what you do. Cool. So, getting ourselves into that final battle. Let's see what we can do. I'm happy enough to pick up this Bannerman over the reinforcements. It's just a little expensive. So we can get it traded out. Pantheon for Fiora number 4 is pretty good. Happy enough to add in that. This is a prismatic barrier. Like the Protege and the barrier do very similar things, but we don't have this like giant stack of barriers. So I think I'm pretty okay with making this trade to help ensure that we have Fiora ready from turn 3 forward. Here we can get rid of the Saga Seeker for the Mountain Goat. That feels good. Maybe it's more of a win to just get rid of the First Blade for the Shield of Durand, like especially now that we've traded away our Cataclysm. But it's just like the Saga Seeker feels more dead than the First Blade. But I like this, like the idea now that we have this 4th Fiora that we're going to be able to assemble these games to where we just don't play anything the first 2 turns. Now we got our protege. So that's a good finish here, right? We've got 3 Broadwings and the protege for our. What if we don't draw Fiora? We have 4 Fioras now, so we have 8 cards kind of in that realm. We've picked up 5 of the 3 mana tricks. Got us in a pretty decent space here. I dig it. I dig it. So let's see. Like the only thing with this Fiora deck now is like this is what I call a really polarized matchup. To where if say you're playing against Bandle City, you tend to be pretty strong against them because they're trying to play a big board full of like 1/2s and 2/2s and stuff, and the Fiora interacts with them all pretty positively. They don't have a lot of ways to stop your Fiora outside of Minimorph, as to where if you're playing against Shadow Isles and you have to play against a bunch of like Crumbles and Vengeances and stuff, it's pretty tough for us to deal with in terms of getting a Fiora OTK. So we'll see. Looks like we're up against the old. Well, I guess we can't really tell if we're against dragons or elites. There's times I could be playing dragons, or I'm sorry, playing elites, and then I would rather just have Shyvanas than Garens. But I would say we're probably against dragons. But here, I'm gonna just full mulligan. The sculptor isn't one of those early game plays I'm interested in and stopping us from having no early plays. Right? If we have a sculptor and like a bunch of combat tricks, it doesn't really do anything. I'd prefer to be finding our good combat units. Not going to play the Saga Seeker. It's just a dead card at this point. I want the mana.
I sculpt what others only dream of. Steady hand.
Getting him. He's on the same strategy. He says, I can do no units till turn 3. I can do the no rush 15. What a weird game. And we can build into this Vanguard Bannerman. Do we ever want to just go ahead and block this Ruined Dragon Guard? I think I'm okay with it. Like, if our play next turn is going to be a Tattered Banner plus Bannerman, then we could get in front of it. But we're about to make our board fairly big in terms of having, well, assuming we hit our Bannerman hit next turn, then we have the potential to grow these to 3/4s and just be bigger than his unit. Doesn't like it.
Peace is a trail painted with blood.
Did we change your mind now that we don't have the Prismatic Barrier mana? It's like realistically, I mean, do you want to? Are you really that scared of a Prismatic Barrier here? It's like I doubt it. Raised the banner and lifted our spirits. We didn't play the Tattered Banner. It's not going to get the hook kill on the Dragon Lord now, and so I'm okay with playing it a little slow. It's like we're about to have a big battle with Shyvana. Man, if I knew we were drawing Fiora, it's like Fiora lacking this like 1 point of stat is such a huge deal. See what we can do. If he doesn't attack, I feel like that's a win for us, but we have to be getting a good a good Blessing of Targon this turn.
Don't back down.
So he can sharp sight into this, so it kind of suck, but we'll just call that the have-it-alls, Could technically make like a single combat play to slow it down a little bit, but like if we're having to play single combat because he plays a combat trick onto Shyvana, that is not ideal. But I mean, I guess if his trick is like a Prismatic Barrier, it's not horrible, right? If he Prismatic Barrier Shyvana, we can single combat the Saga Seeker onto her to break the barrier, then still kill with the Bannerman, but doesn't seem super ideal. Does have a single combat. I mean, it seems okay. Do we want to now like single combat our Squire onto his Screeching Dragon and get the kill there? Right? It's gonna take it to 3 health, then we kill it with the dude. Yeah, I think that's good. Or, I mean, this unit's gonna die anyways. Would we rather just do it with the Saga Seeker? Oh, pull that back. Did not deal 3? Oh, he has the Dragon Guard on board. Okay, that's fine. I was like, why did that work? He just he goes from a 6 to a 3, or from a 5 to a 3, then we deal 3. Okay, that makes sense now. That makes sense now. Okay. I don't want to get like super involved in this turn. Let's see if we can't just like build up a board. Well, this is really the only attack we're going to make this turn, right? So let's just bring it in and see what happens. I'll trade it with either of his units and be happy enough about it. It's like if we want to get things going with Fiora, we need to get her on board and we need to get her Bastion so she has 4 attack and can deal with these dum-dums. Yep, that's fine. And so it's like if we spend the 5 mana on Sculptor Fiora, go into the next turn, and then, you know, have a ton of mana and a Fiora, might be able to do something here. He does have this dragon hook directly onto her, but I think I'm willing to live with that, especially if we can lead with a Golden Aegis onto her. Like if he plays a unit here and doesn't open and we get to bury your Fiora. A little scary. They have a lot of interactivity in these Demacia decks, but I think that's kind of key right here. It's a permanent spell shield, right? Grant an ally 1/1 and spell shield. It's not grant spell shield this round. Okay. She's not going to survive this though, right? If we're going to be real, we could skip attacking here, but he can now just like hook her with the other dragon. But it does shut down a lot of his board. And man, we're back to this stupid space to where the single combats don't work. This is trouble. So we need to do it like this. Let's single combat Fiora, take down one of his backliners. That's going to make her flip with her second win. And then she'll be a 5/1 and take down the dragon. But, I mean, if we're going to stop and look at this board, right, we've got 6... What is this? How much we got? 10 stats on board to his... Our board compared to his is fairly comparable, but he has 4 cards in hand to 1, and one of his cards is a dragon. And so that's where we're hurting here. What? Maybe this will do something. Not a bad draw. Not a bad draw. Gonna beat up on your little dudes. Oh, well. I think that'll do it. What? Not bad, not bad. That was it's a tough thing for Fiora to deal with. If you know, you need to get like your finale combat in with a single like plus attack boost. Then it's not that big a deal. But when literally every unit they play has 4 health, that's a little bit tough for our strategy to overcome. But I mean, that does kind of like help push me towards like what I hope Riot is able to really drill home and figure out. Is it took the Magic team a long time to kind of come up with the color pie and really identify with what every faction is able to do. Or I guess in Magic, you should say what every color is able to do. And then on top of that, by the time, you know, like Ravnica was coming around, they were really able to kind of hone in on, okay, well, you know, White's able to do this, so Azorius should be able to do this. And I think Riot is still, you know, kind of working that out, because they have a bit of a problem on their hands in terms of the way I feel. Is it's a game about champions that happen to be constrained by the factions. It's not like Magic to where it's a game of colors, and then the colors have the constraints placed on top of them. And so, like with Magic, is where you say, okay, well, I'm playing white, and I'm playing this version of Gideon in my deck because it does this, or I'm playing this version of a Johnny in my deck because it does this. You aren't like defined in your deck building and your color and what Gideon can do. You're defined by in what white can do, and then Gideon is what is complementing that. But it feels like with Runeterra, it's a game about champions, and so it's to where, okay, we're playing Fiora. I'm building around Fiora. Now, how is she complemented by Demacia? Or if we pair her up with another faction, how is she complemented by that faction? And it feels like a little backwards in comparison. And so I'm not saying that they're doing it wrong. I'm just saying I think it'll take Riot a bit of time to figure out, okay, this is what the factions are good at. And where that's coming from is, as we played that game against Demacia, Demacia's thing is, units being bigger, number one. That's why, in Demacia's identity, they should be getting a card like Loyal Badger Bear or Ruined Dragon Guard that are just bigger than the other 3/3s with upside. But I don't feel like they've fully fleshed out where they want all of these factions to be and kind of what their key thing is going to be. And so, like Demacia would be kind of like, hey, we're the green color, right? Where we get all the big units. And then, Noxus would be like, hey, we're the red color. We get all the really aggressive, high attack, low health kind of units that are really focused on attacking in and swinging. And I feel like that's where, a lot of the complaint about Bandle City comes about is they just kind of do everything well. And it doesn't feel like, oh, well, we have this multi-faction card generation kind of thing, but we don't have to pay any extra mana for it. Or we have all of this go wide width kind of theme, which is what it feels like. That I think that's kind of like a Yordle thing and not a Bandle City thing, but it kind of feels like what they've done, and they haven't really defined what they're supposed to be good at and what they're supposed to be bad at. And I think, with some more time, they'll really hash it out and get it all together. But that's what that game there reminded me about specifically was, this, it's kind of a odd concept to me as to where, Demacia is the faction of big units. How does Fiora fit in there, right? That's not what Fiora is about or what Fiora does. And so, interested to see how things go. But, in terms of the Fiora decks, if you're going to get one of these Fiora drafts in before the expeditions are gone, I think we got on a pretty good touch point of what you're looking for. You want to find about 10 barriers. Ideally, the barriers will be prismatic. You want to find your riposts, but in the cases of the deck here, and if you land into mentors, you're going to find a lot of the health boosting cards. And so the Shield of Durand is what kind of fills in for the missing prismatic barriers, but you just still want to find some tricks to help boost her attack. So that's kind of thing number one. Thing number two is finding the answer to the question, what do we do if I don't draw my Fiora? In this deck, that's where we had the Petricite Broadwings and then the Laurent Proteges. And then the third thing you'll be asking is, what do I do if my Fiora gets killed? What does my late game look like if we can't OTK? And that is typically Screeching Dragon, but just one of these meaty, beefy units. We were, kind of landing on Grandfather Rummel here just because that's what the cards offered up. But ideally, it's going to be a Screeching Dragon. But yeah, that was pretty fun. And so, man, this is wild. It's strange not having the expeditions anymore, but we will find something new to do in the future. And so, if you're still hanging along with us up to this point, or if you're one of the regulars, we are moving over to Constructed. And so we've already started putting out some of the Constructed content. We've hit Masters. We've Prime Gloried the past 4 gauntlets that we've done. We're getting kind of, up to speed on the Land of Constructed. I do intend to stay heavily focused on Constructed, but I do have to concede that as time goes on, the amount of content that you're able to make really starts to diminish unless you just want to watch me play Scouts 7 days a week. And so I'm intending on doing, like 4 and 5 maybe even 7 constructed videos as, you know, kind of like the new sets come out and tournaments come about or whatever. But then as I feel like we've kind of like exhausted the relevant constructed decks, I'm looking to either get back to Magic Drafts, look to play Hearthstone Arena, look to play Hearthstone Duels. I've kind of looked at Shadowverse. I don't know what I feel about it. I don't think I'm super interested, but it does have a draft format. I can't bring myself to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I know that's a thing out there now and it's quite popular, but I'm not super interested in that. And then otherwise, I've been kind of looking at like variety deck builders, whether or not it's Slay the Spire mods, something like Rogue Book, Castlemar Hisa. There's just like all kinds of deck builders out and about now, and either, you know, focusing in on one of those when there's downtime, whether or not that would be, you know, like a deep dive into Slay the Spire, or more of a variety kind of approach. I haven't really decided. To me, it's all hinging on what happens with the Path of Champions 2.0. And so that won't happen for another like 6 or 8 weeks or so. But I liked making content and videos with the original Lab of Legends. Those were nice, you know, like 45 to 60 minute runs with increasing difficulty as they went on. With the new version of Path of Champions, I like it. You know, it's fun, but I don't think it works from a content creation perspective, given that the way it's set up and that it gets progressively easier, right? If we're playing the original Lab of Legends, we could upgrade it into playing like Mythic or Heroic or whatever they were called. If we're playing, say, like Slay the Spire, you can go up to, you know, Ascension 18 or 19 or 20 or whatever you want to do. But when you're playing through Path of Champions, you run into the problem to where it gets easier as you go. So you go through a run, it's too challenging. You don't win the run, but you get the upgrades to your champion, and then that, you know, the next run is then easier. That makes it to a point to where, you know, if we're wanting to kind of make like compelling content with it every time, you just have to either like pick a level, you know, and say like, well, I'm just going to play at level 10 forever, or, you know, something along those lines. And I just don't think it works. And so I'm interested to see what comes about with Path of Champions 2.0, if it has more of the increasing difficulty or the decreasing difficulty gets attached to it. Because, man, it's like after playing a bit of Hearthstone Duels and playing Path of Champions, it was like if the limited format on Runeterra was like Hearthstone Duels, to where you have the incoming like upgrades to cards and upgrades to abilities, to where it's like with duels you're limited in like kind of global effects to the game. But with the way Runeterra is set up, to where you can put like items on the champions and items on the cards and stuff, like it would just be like so fucking choice. Like it seems like that would be like a super fun competitive format. But it doesn't, you know, exist at this point. And so it's tough. I'll, you know, figure it out. So do, you know, expect to be seeing 4 and 5 and 6 constructed videos coming out each week, but then don't be surprised when a little bit of variety hits. And so don't freak out if you see a Magic video. We're not we're not leaving Runeterra forever. I'm just not able to do 7 constructed videos a week and still produce compelling content. And so that is that. We're done. We're officially here. We're finished. Our expedition has ended. Our trial is over. The mountain has been climbed. We made it to number 500. And that is going to be it. And so that is going to do it for us today. I hope everyone has enjoyed all the trials. You know, you learned to love it. You enjoyed what we did. You had a good time. And our expedition is now over. So that is going to do it. Thank everyone for being here. Have yourselves a good one.